Sorry, yeah.
You have already spent a few days here at COP29. What is your greatest insight so far?
Well, I think the greatest insight that I see is, again, civil society, youth mobilizing incredibly. But it's not just, like on just protesting, but really in proposals and really in concrete actions. And this is something that it calls my attention because we are close to the new submission of the NDCs. And I have seen a huge mobilization of youth to be included, to be consulted, but to also participate in implementations of NDCs. And at the same time, also some parliamentarian will and participation during COP.
You have long been engaged in climate and energy space, advocating for just and inclusive transition,
Yes.
from building capacity on climate change to facilitating real energy access projects in remote areas.
Yes.
Do you think that the clean energy landscape has changed in the recent years? Has the community been actually moving forward on the way to just and effective energy transition?
Yes, and I think in the way that I was mentioning, and this is, you see that energy transition is transversal to the indices, to the climate agreement, because without it, we're not going to get there, right? And at the same time, I have seen a change in the narrative, of course. Before we were focusing on, okay, we need to target emissions, mitigation, but now we're saying, okay, we need to diversify the energy matrix. We need to be inclusive in this energy transition, right? Not just leaving, as I said, people like behind, but also how we're going to be inclusive with the communities where the minerals for the energy transition are. And also as well for the global south and other communities. So I have seen this. And even the NDCs are a reflection of the position of a country regarding what they think is energy transition. And I think there is even a further analysis as well on how, as I said, the different populations are bringing what kind of energy transition they want. What is the energy future that we want?
Well, funny that you mentioned inclusion, actually. It is a well-known fact that women are often the ones at the forefront of the consequences that climate change brings us. Do you find women and girls willing to engage in climate action? And how do you see their role? Do you think it's in any way different or specific?
You see, I have seen, especially from my region, and not just from my region, I think from around the world, it's a funny fact, but I see more engagement of women, or young women, and also women in climate action than sometimes men. And I believe that, as you said, the fact that we know that climate change affects already, safety, health, and many other, environmental quality, we know we are disproportionately being more affected. So I think that we are very aware about it. And I have seen many unbelievable leaders around the world really working from bottom up, but also in the diplomacy. So I think that I think the focus will be now that, before seeing us just as an activist there, why not be even more inclusive in the delegations of the countries? Because I have also seen more men as delegates and negotiators than women. So I think we are walking towards diplomacy led, hopefully in the future, by women.
It's interesting. A little bit of a personal question. So,
Yeah.
As a young woman yourself, what is your story? How did you become passionate about climate change action? And what would be your message to the young girls, especially that are now embarking on this path?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll sum it up. So basically, I was born in Colombia, but I was raised in the border of Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. So my family, we migrated. And when we migrated, we thought, okay, we are in a safe country, we are now okay. But then we realized there was climate change. And there is no borders for climate change. So even myself as a migrant, I needed to really guarantee and understand that the place I migrated needs to be safe and needs to be, be protected against climate issues, because that's my new home. And that is a lot perspective on what I have seen during this COP. And that taught me to also mobilize my community. So we were working first, we realized that energy transition and energy is parallel to climate. And then, we ended up working in a little bit in adaptation, in mitigation, in education, and in policy making. So I think my story is that understanding that climate change doesn't have borders, but also understanding that it is one home, it is one planet. So I really want to think that migrants, we are also the voice for the world, yeah.
What would you say those girls who are now, what would you advise them to do?
I will advise that the first thing is climate change, we know, is an intergenerational issue. So we really need to do work with the other generations. We cannot just be working with youth or separated just as women, but at the same time we need to establish cooperation. This is not a competition. Like, we need to really work together to leverage action. In the other hand, I will also say have a lot of support groups and communities. Always working with collective mindset will help you to go, further instead of just faster. And perhaps my third point is, like, perhaps look at what your ancestors did. Like, think about your family. You are a result of your ancestors, and maybe to honor them, maybe ask yourself how you're going to be a good ancestor for the next generations. We are already ancestors.
It's a beautiful one. Thank you so much, Joyce.
Thank you.
Just the way. Yes, great.
It is a funny shot.